Hello and welcome to Global News Factory. I'm your host Vikrant. There is a lot of buzz about the new US EU trade deal. Some are calling it historic, others say it is a breakthrough. But let's cut through the fluff because what this deal really is a slow, painful death sentence for Europe's military independence. Firstly, the economics. Already a disaster. While European tariffs on many US exports are being slashed to zero, European goods are still facing a 15% wall in return. The EU has signed up to buy $750 billion worth of American energy, pump in $600 billion more into the US economy, and here is the kicker: purchase additional US military equipment running into hundreds of billions. That is right. While Europe's own factories rust, America's military industrial complex is being handed a golden goose. Now, this is where things get geopolitical because this trade deal is not just about economics, it is a full blown red carpet trap. Trump's real masterstroke lies in how he has used this deal to kill Europe's decades-old dream of building its own army. You see, Europe has long wanted to stand on its own feet militarily. Why? Because NATO is old wine in a cracked bottle. A US controlled alliance where Europe just follows Washington's orders, right? The idea was, what if the US elects a Russia friendly president? The EU would be left exposed. Hence, the push for an autonomous European military, European army. French President Emmanuel Macron has been the loudest cheerleader for what he calls strategic autonomy. In November last year, he proposed that the European political community join hands to create a European army. Not just a token force, but a real independent military power. Then we have Friedrich Merz, the German Chancellor, also demanded Europe become independent from the US in defense matters.
America first. Was ist unsere Antwort? Klein machen, kuschen, Angst haben? Oder sagen wir Europäer, wir Deutsche, 450 Millionen Einwohner in der Europäischen Union, mehr als Kanada und Amerika zusammen, wer sich selbst zum Zwerg macht, wird behandelt wie ein Zwerg.
Even Angela Merkel, not known for bold risks, backed the idea in 2018. And of course, we have Ursula von der Leyen as president of the European Commission. She was all in for a common security and defense policy. And she was pushing for the European Defense Fund, by the way. The goal was simple: defense made in Europe, for Europe, by Europe. But then comes this shiny new deal. Under its terms, the EU is now committing to buy hundreds of billions worth of American military hardware. This means Europe is not just failing to build its own defense, it is funding America's instead. This defeats the whole point of strategic autonomy. You want to be independent, but you are buying your missiles, tanks, and jets from a country that can turn them off like a Wi-Fi router. Because yes, the US has kill switches in its weapon systems. While the Pentagon never publicly admits it, defense experts are confident. One expert put it like this: if you postulate the existence of something that can be done with a little bit of software code, it exists. And here is the crazy part: even European-made fighter jets are not fully independent from US tech. All of them rely on US secure data systems and GPS. It is like trying to be a rebel while still using your enemy's Google Maps. Over the last 5 or 6 years, America supplied 55% of Europe's defense imports, up from 35% just a few years ago. Trump now wants to take that number to 80%. You heard that right. 8 out of 10 weapons in Europe made in America. So what is the end game here? Simple. Trump gets America $1 trillion deal. His defense companies get filthy rich. Europe, they get to pretend they are building a common European army while buying 100% made in US missiles they do not even control. In reality, the EU military, if it ever exists, will just be a NATO sub-brand. A shiny patch on the uniform. The money will be European, but the masters will always be Americans. And just to solve the wound, guess who announced this whole deal? Ursula von der Leyen, the same dim-wit woman who once championed European military independence. Now she has sold that very dream to Washington, wrapped in a flag stamped strategic partnership and soaked in hypocrisy. So next time you hear EU leaders talk about standing on their own, remember they had a choice and they chose to become slaves of Lockheed Martin and Raytheon. Moving on, Iran just let the folks back into the henhouse. Seriously, what is wrong with Iran? After 12 straight days of Israeli airstrikes, after watching the US join in with a literal bunker buster assault on your nuclear sites, after having your parliament suspend cooperation with the IAEA over its silence on the aggression, and you still roll out the red carpet for IAEA spies. This is not diplomacy, it is delusion. Iran's foreign ministry, in all its wisdom, just announced, we are going to define a new protocol with the IAEA to see how we can continue cooperation. Wow, within the next 2 weeks, an IAEA official will visit Iran and we are going to discuss these technical aspects during that meeting. New protocol, my foot. You have been through this rodeo 100 times. Each time they come in with briefcases and leave with maps to your nuclear program, then go crying to UN, parroting Israel's script. Let's rewind. On 13 June, Israel launched its undeclared war on Iran in the middle of talks between Tehran and Washington. Then 10 days later, the US entered the fray, slamming Iran's nuclear facilities with bunker busters. And guess what? Not a peep from the IAEA, no condemnation, no emergency press conference, just an awkward silence. Even before the bombs dropped, on 12th of June, the IAEA board passed a resolution accusing Iran of non-compliance with its NPT obligations. That's right, they passed this judgment before the war began, almost like they were laying the groundwork for these strikes. In response, Iran did what any self-respecting nation should do. The parliament slammed the door on IAEA access. Rafael Grossi, the agency's chief and Israel's favorite UN mascot, was banned from entering, a strong move. But now, in a baffling U-turn, Iran is once again letting the inspectors back in. Not Grossi himself, sure, but his people, his team, his software, his cameras, his bugs, his eyes, his ears. What exactly does Iran expect to come out of this new protocol? A peace prize? Every time Iran cooperates, it gets sanctioned. Every time it opens a door, it gets bombed. Every time it plays by the rules, the rule book changes. At this point, cooperating with the IAEA is like handing your enemy a map, a flashlight, and the keys to your house, and then acting shocked when you get robbed. Let's be clear, these IAEA teams are not just technical inspectors, they are political tools. Western stooges, they visit, report back to US, and the next thing you know, someone is pushing for sanctions or an airstrike. Iran says it wants technical dialogue, but here is the problem. You cannot have technical talks with people who are waging political warfare. Iran needs to stop trying to win approval from a system designed to destroy it. Because here is the truth. You cannot appease people who want regime change. You can only outmaneuver them. Let's talk Ukraine now. There comes a time in life when you are supposed to hang your boots, not lace them up for war. You're supposed to wake up to the laughter of your grandchildren, right? Not the sound of gunfire. Sip tea on the porch, not hide from drones in a trench. But Zelensky has signed a new law that says otherwise. Ukraine will now allow men over 60, pensioners, grandfathers, retired teachers, mechanics, bakers to sign up for contract based military service. You heard that right. They say it is non combat roles. But in this war, every role can become a combat role in a flash. When shells rain from the sky, they do not check your job title. Let's be honest, non combat is often just the first stop before we have no choice, you are needed at the front. What kind of nation sends its old men to war? War is cruel, but this is shameful. Zelensky, once a comedian, has now scripted a war where your father, your uncle, your retired neighbor can be sent to dig trenches or patch up soldiers just miles from the front, while drones hover and bombs fall. He has already lowered the draft age. People are dragged from the streets, caught at checkpoints, snatched from offices and bus stations. And now they're coming for your granddad. And don't tell me this is normal. 31st US President Herbert Hoover once said, "Old men declare war, but it is youth that must fight and die." But in Ukraine, the script is flipped. Now the old must fight too. It is nothing but desperation. Key forces are bleeding. Reports suggest thousands lost every month. NATO weapons arrive late, if at all. Morale is down. Coffins are piling up. And now Zelensky chooses to sacrifice Ukraine's senior citizens. You see, over half of our audience at GNF is over 60. That's right. Many of you watching this are in that very age group. You know what this stage of life is meant to be: retirement, rest, reflection, long walks, warm dinners, not military vests. How far has Ukraine fallen that the golden years have turned into marching orders? This is not a call to arms, it's a call to shame. And any nation that puts its senior citizens in the crosshairs of an active war needs to take a hard look in the mirror. Because when the young are gone and the old are forced to fight, that is not national strength, that is national collapse. And that's all for now. Thank you very much for being with me. You're watching GNF.